Hello, my name is Wangashi and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing about labor. This video is a continuation of the previous video that I posted last week talking about pricing, and I mentioned that accounting for labor is a bit different from accounting for your cost of goods or cost of ingredients because of a few factors which I'm going to mention in this video. It's going to be a bit detailed because of the few things that you're supposed to consider when accounting for labor, and hopefully this helps you in your final pricing of your cakes. So there are three main things that you need to consider when you're accounting for labor, which are essential in your final cost for your cake or cakes, and I'm going to list them down and then go in detail or in depth with each point. So the first point when you're accounting for labor, which is the very basic one, is the design of the cake. For example, if it's a very simple design, say it's just a cake with whipping cream and maybe just rosettes at the top and some strawberries, that's a simple design. So with that, I will account for my labor depending on how long such a design takes me to do. So since I'm used to doing that and it's very simple to me, it's easier for me to charge, or maybe let me say it's cheaper for such a design when it comes to someone who's experienced, or let me just say it's cheaper for me to cost that type of design because I know how to do it, I'm used to doing it, it doesn't take me a lot of time, so I'm comfortable with it, so it won't take me too long. But if it's a complex design, for example, a same buttercream cake, but now I am doing maybe the marble buttercream. It's still buttercream, it's still, from the outside it looks very simple, but it takes a bit of time and it takes a bit of patience. And there's also risk for what I want to achieve might not be what comes out. So due to that fact, I'm going to charge a little bit more, even though it's still buttercream. So yes, for that, I'm going to charge more. So you have to consider your designs. So is it a simple design? Is it, because it could be even two fondant cakes. I could have two fondant cakes, but maybe one is just covered in fondant and just has some beadwork, a ribbon at the bottom, some flowers at the top. So it's a simple design. It doesn't take me long, but then there's another fondant cake that might look simple, but is not simple and takes too much time and details. So I'm going to charge for my labor more. The second point to consider when you're accounting for your labor is time. So basically, how long does it take you from start to finish with something, with a cake, with your cookies, with your flowers, with your toppers? That's something that you need to consider a lot of. Prep work also includes from the moment you start your consultation to the end of packing that cake and giving it out. So all that, from when the consultation starts to me going out to do shopping for ingredients, toppers, area the detail, switching on my oven to start preheating, baking, making my batter, baking it, cooling, decorating, packing. Yeah, when you consider all that, how long does it take you? So I'll put all that into account. So if a 1 kg simple buttercream cake costs me this amount of time, maybe 3 hours from start to finish, how much would I want to be paid for that? So you can have a flat rate of, for example, maybe 200 shillings an hour. So if it's a cake I know takes me 3 hours to finish, I can say from start to finish, I can charge 600 shillings for that. So for example, in our previous video, the ingredients list was 1435 shillings for a butter cake, a cake made with butter, and I'm charging 200 shillings per hour to do the cake, and it's cost me 3 or 4 hours. So let's say 3 hours. It's cost me 200 shillings per hour for 3 hours. That's 600 shillings. So I'm going to have my cake plus labor, just that, comes to 2,035 shillings, which has to come back to my business. So once you know how to account for your time and labor, it becomes easier for you to bill a client, because you won't feel like you're taking too much of your time to do something that maybe you're very passionate about and you want to turn into a business, but it's not earning you an income. Maybe it's your sole source of income and you need it to actually sustain your life. So make sure you've accounted for it. If not having a flat rate per hour, you can also decide to have a flat rate per cake. So instead of me saying, if I'm charging 200 shillings per hour, I can maybe say, for every 1 kg simple buttercream or whipping cream cake, I want to earn 500 shillings from it. So, or a fondant cake, a simple fondant cake, I want to earn, for 1 kg very simple fondant cake, just plain fondant with beadwork or just plain fondant with a ribbon, I want to earn 1,000 shillings from it. So you look at that and decide what works for you and what's more convenient for you. Mainly because here in our country, there's no standard rate per hour for our industry. So yeah, with that, I could say just look at what works best for you. If it's accounting for it per cake, how long it takes me per cake, or how much I want to earn per day or per hour. So with that in mind, you always charge accordingly to what you feel like you deserve to earn. The third point I'm going to talk about is experience. And with experience, there's a few things that you need to keep in mind so you can be able to comfortably account for labor without hurting yourself. And experience also tackles on design and time, as they're all linked together. So the first point I'm going to discuss in the topic of experience is design. Is it a design that I've done several times? For example, like drip cake, rosette cake, petal effect, something that I've done several times and I'm very, very comfortable with. Now at my pricing stage, what I would price it as, that's something that I'm very comfortable with. I know how long it takes me to do it. I know what I need exactly. Like say if I'm doing a rosette cake with whipped cream, I know I need for 1 kg cake almost 3/4 of a box to do the whole thing. So since I do know how long it takes me, what I need, I can build it cheaper. But if it's something I've never done before, if it's a new design, for new design, something I think I can comfortably execute. If it's the first time I'm doing something, I might charge it a bit higher because I'm not versed in, especially with how much time it's going to take me. Before I even consider how much more ingredients, it's time that's going to be the biggest contributing factor. And when I say it's time that's going to be my biggest contributing factor, I'm also taking into account hours I'm going to spend online trying to research on it. So maybe let's say like a fall plain cake. When you look at it, it's a very simple cake. It's not something, or even the striped cake, it's very simple. It's not something I think, okay, the first time I did it, it's not something I think I would struggle with. But at the same time, being that I've not done it before, maybe it's the first time I've ever seen it, and the first time I'm saying it is from a client, I've never seen it anywhere, I will need time to go research on it. And so you're accounting from when you start learning how to do the process to when you finally, if it's a new design that you've never done before, account for time in the sense of from the moment you start researching on how to do it, because you're not going to just watch one video and feel comfortable with it. You might have to watch that one video 3 or 4 times, sometimes while practicing, until you feel comfortable enough to do it for a client. So consider that when you're accounting for your labor. The next thing is, and this is something that I know very many of us bakers who previously billed have regretted on. I might have done a cake before and I charged X amount, and then when I worked on it, maybe I thought it's going to take me 3 hours to complete, and when I was billing my client, I charged them with 3 hours in mind. But then it takes me over 10 hours to finish the cake. Unfortunately, you can't go back to the client and tell them, I know I told you your cake is going to be 6,000 shillings, but then it took me another 6 hours to finish your cake. So are you please going to add me X amount of money? Maybe it's a design you've done before and it took you long and you want to, and if someone else wants to order for it, then since you know your mistake, now you have to account better for your labor. Best example I can give with this point is this cake right here. The first time I did this cake, I thought genuinely it would take me 3 hours to make the topper because the video I had watched, it didn't seem to take that long and I had everything that I need to make that topper. So I had accounted maximum 3 hours for the topper, and that's me. From watching the video, I didn't think it would take an hour, but giving myself extra time to take my time, make sure everything is perfect, given myself 3 hours for the topper, and the rest of the cake, because it looks like a very simple cake, I'd also given myself maybe maximum 3 or 4 hours. But then, unfortunately, from, well, making the topper, making the tires took forever, making the body took forever, making the face to look like a face took forever. And firstly, I should have known better when I asked the person who makes most of my toppers if they can make it for me a week in advance. And they told me it's too complicated, they don't want to make it. It's filled with regret. Making the top tier didn't take too long, but making the bottom tier, let me tell you, making those cobblestone took forever, because you're making piece by piece, and in my head I'm trying to make it look as realistic as possible, not make each rock like perfect size, no, the same size as the previous one, and while making them into an arch, they say like they're perfectly put to make it perfectly shaped from the top and the bottom, and also making the rail tracks perfect, making the stop thing at the rail track, making it perfect. So I started doing the topper on a Thursday at 2 p.m. Made the tires and the bottom of the body and let that dry the whole Thursday night. Then Friday, because it's just assembling the body, I thought this would not take me an hour. Started at 7 p.m. and at 11 p.m. I'm still not done. And then that went on until like, if I remember correctly, almost 1 a.m. And my first thought was go sleep, then come back and finish in the morning. But then my client had said, we'll pick up in the morning before 9. My biggest fear with going to sleep before finishing work is, what if I oversleep? What if I don't wake up on time? What if I wake up at 9 a.m. and they're here? So there's no way I could have done that. So I decided, let me finish up as much as I can, leave very little work to be finished. Then, yeah, I'll sleep after. The client came at 7 a.m. The client came just when I had finished putting the name. That cake genuinely took a whole 12 hours to complete. 12 hours plus, including the Thursday work that I did. It took 12 hours to complete. Okay, maybe maximum 13, 14 hours to complete. And I'm not even accounting for the baking time because I did that before. So, and I remember after I gave it to her, my first thought was, I am never doing this cake again. It's going to be the one cake that I will call. This was a custom cake for one specific client. I'm never doing it again. So with that in mind, with that example in mind, if I had done it for this client and regretted how much I charged them for my time and my labor then, for the next person I do it, I'm genuinely and definitely going to charge more, because this time I already know how much time it's going to take to do it. So yes, from past experience, I know, and I know many of us bakers have regretted how much we charged once. We underestimated how much effort, how much time something needs, and then there's nothing you can do about it and you have to do it. So yes. So the next thing to consider in experience is, am I new in the market, or have I been in business or in the industry for a while? I'll start with, am I new in the market? How long does it take you to do each cake, or how many can you do in a day? With that in mind, you can decide on how much to charge for your labor. For example, if I can only manage to do 2 cakes per day, and from start to finish that is, and I want to make 1,000 shillings every single day, that means I can only realistically, I can only charge 500 shillings minimum per cake, so as to earn 1,000 shillings per day. So with that in mind, the next point is, how comfortable am I in doing a design? So if you're not comfortable, either don't take it or charge enough for you to sit down, take your time, work on it from start to finish, and give a good job, a presentable job. Don't take someone's money and then give them a bad job. So with a new entrant, always consider how long it takes you, how many you can do, and how comfortable you are. And with a point for how comfortable you are, I would say, if I'm not very comfortable with something, or maybe it's a design I'm not comfortable with, I would not charge high. If, say, maybe someone has insisted I do the cake for them, and I'm not comfortable with my work, I would charge low for the labor. Although I know it's an oxymoron from what I've said previously, but you'd rather charge less if you're not comfortable than take so much money and still give a bad job. But I don't know, it's a complete oxymoron, so I would go with don't take a design that you can't do. Okay, moving on to the next point, which is, have I been in the industry for a while? So this is a very important point to note. So the longer you've been in the industry, the more it makes sense to charge more for your labor. And next point would be, how many cakes can I do in a day comfortably? And with that, that's the point I was saying, charge accordingly for your labor. For someone, like for me, I know my oven can take so many cakes. So if I can comfortably bake and decorate without overexerting myself, 6 simple 1 kilo cakes per day, if I was to say I want to earn 1,200 bob that day, then it would mean I'm only receiving 200 shillings from a cake without feeling like I'm underworking, although definitely that will be underworking. But if I was to use the example for 500 shillings per cake, if I do 6 cakes, then I'm getting for my labor 3,000 shillings a day. If I'm charging 1,000 shillings per cake for my labor, if I do 6 cakes, I'm earning 6,000 shillings per day for my labor. So the longer you've been in the industry, charge accordingly, because definitely you deserve it. You've been there for long. And lastly, for the point for how long you've been in the industry, how well have you honed or perfected your craft? Most people who've been in the industry for long have, when you look at the quality of the work that they've done from when they started to where they are now, their work is so beautiful. Simply because you've honed your craft. You've been here for a while. You've practiced and practiced. If you put in all those years, all those hours of practicing to get to where you are now for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you deserve to earn enough to sustain yourself for a long time. So always put that into consideration. So to wrap this up, those are the 3 things that you need to account for, which is design. And that point we mentioned basically the complexity or simplicity of a design. Time, always consider your time when you're accounting for your labor because of prep work, baking time, cleanup, packaging, deco time, all that, consultation time. When you put all that in mind, you'll figure out your labor costs. And lastly, your experience. Is it a new design? Is it something you've already done? Is it something you've done before and regretted how much you charged before? Are you new in the market? Do you have experience in the market? Have you honed your craft? When you put all that in mind, you can decide a rate for yourself. Since it's something that has not been set in stone, it varies from person to person, from business to business, from cake to cake, etc. Once you have your price in mind, you can come and add it to your cost of goods or cost of ingredients, and then Now at this point, let's say our flat rate per cake is 750 shillings per cake. We add that 750 to our cost of ingredients. It comes to 21.85 or 18.46 depending on whether you're using butter or margarine. So when you keep that in mind, at this point, this is the money that needs to come back to the business regardless of anything. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you've learned something. Hope this will help one of us or a few of us. And hopefully this is one step closer to all of us selling our cakes without hurting ourselves. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.